The Oklahoma Sooners are looking for a bounce back in the unfriendly confines of Williams-Brice Stadium.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Locked On Crossover edition featuring Locked On Gamecocks, Locked On Sooners. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today, and thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single day. We got Chris Marler of Locked On Gamecocks, Jay Smith, and myself of Locked On Sooners. I'm John Williams, and we've got a lot of great things to talk about on today's show because we got the Oklahoma Sooners coming off their first loss of the season, the South Carolina Gamecocks coming off of a tough loss in Baton Rouge to the LSU Tigers. Chris, let's start with LaNorris Sellers. I saw you post something about the quarterback after his game against LSU. Just tell us what is going on with him this year. How has he been playing? What did you make of his performance against the Tigers?
Are you talking about the specific tweet that is the craziest stat I've ever heard in the history of stats with Cole Kubelik? Because I was here. I live in Baton Rouge. I cover South Carolina, and it was an odd week, kind of having to cover for both teams. But I knew no matter what was going to happen in that game, that LaNorris Sellers was going to play his ass off, and he did. Like he is a really, really good player. He works really hard. But let's just be honest at this point, because we're 6 games in. Dude, he's got I think 5 total touchdowns on the season, and like 4 passing and 1 run. Like, call me crazy, but I feel like us 3 could probably draw up some stuff on Madden or NCAA and figure out a way to get him into the end zone a little bit more. The offense has been really bad, and it's been really bad around him. He has had some people think he's kind of regressed. He holds on to the ball too long. But here's what I do know. You had an offensive line that had 4 starters out by the second half of that game. I jokingly said, if they have another starter go down, Chloe Kitts is going to have to come in and play left guard. And then she tore her ACL. So the attrition all of it's been bad. All of it's been bad. All-time bad tweet. But like, it has been awful trying to protect him because it's been a mash unit in general. And like, that is paired with the schedule not really being super easy, the receivers being super young, not a lot of separation. But dude, LSU came in there and they without blitzing, got a pressure on 72% of the snaps. And then the coup de grace of all that, the stat that Cole Kubelik put out, which I thought had to be a mistake, 22 carries, which is 8 more than he's had in any other game this season. So they finally let him run a little bit, but for only 19 total yards. In those 19 yards, he ran on the field for a total of 894 yards. I'm not making that up. 800.
That's Bo Jackson and Tecmo Bowl style of running there.
That's
literally zigzag up and down.
Had in a year.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That is a crazy stat. I would not have. Wow, I still can't fathom that. Like, how
he got
how?
There's 1,760 yards in a mile. So he ran over a half mile to get 19 yards. I mean, that is yikes.
Yeah, so it's the offensive line's not been good. Your young wide receivers not been good. I've been seeing questions about the offensive play calling. Is it just nothing is really working well for South Carolina this year on the offensive side of the ball?
I mean, yeah, I think you had Faison come in from Utah State, who's a really good back, a 4.4 flat kid. It's about 6 feet, 220, like a guy that should be able to get between the tackles and still be a home run hitter. He got going a little bit against LSU. But, man, they just don't open enough holes, and they're just very wonky and disjointed on most of the offensive. Like, remember last year, I felt like it was like every single first possession was like a play action. You want to get Sellers out in space, give him an easy dump-off pass, or the ability to have the RPO where he can run or dump it off to a tight end. You just kind of – I mean, the first drive of the season, you went right down the field on Virginia Tech, and it felt like this is the offense you've been waiting to see. This is going to be awesome. And then ever since then, it's been awful. You guys, like, you've seen the numbers, obviously. Like the scariest part of all this is how bad the scoring offense is, which I think is last in the SEC at like 24.9 or something like that points per game.
Mm-hmm.
That includes the 6 non-offensive touchdowns. So they're the only team in the conference that hasn't scored 100 points on offense all year. And so it has been maddening. It's been maddening because even when you look at what they did against LSU, where they're still in that game, you have a 72-yard run that Fuller breaks for a touchdown. It's like, what else happened in that game? So I think that this is an opportunity where you kind of throw it out the window and say, listen, Mike Shula, this is your last chance because we've already shown you we're serious. We cut ties with Lonnie Teasley out as the O-line coach. If you don't show some sort of progress, and guys, I'm not trying to be sad sap or funny over here, but like 350 yards of offense, 20 points, that would be progress. And you have to see it this week.
Well, and especially against a defense like Oklahoma's, Jay, which if you can get 20 points and 350 yards of offense, that's a pretty great day for South Carolina, right?
Oh, no, that's an amazing game. Any game where you can get over 300 yards will be considered an amazing game for anybody going against the Oklahoma defense because it doesn't happen very often. Texas got 304 yards in that game, and a lot of people were pointing out, like, yeah, that was kind of a bad game overall. They only got 1 offensive touchdown. They got the special teams one, which helped, but no, this defense has been very stingy, and that's going to be the focus. Now, granted, stingy as far as taking the ball away, they're not doing that. They're not figuring out turnovers, in which I think that's going to have to be the focal point, is to try to get LaNorris to make mistakes, force a fumble, make him throw it into coverage that he doesn't want to throw to, keep him uncomfortable. You got to bring the pressure, and if you do that, you might got a chance, but man, he will hurt you in his ability to move around. But granted, the fact that he'll run 800 and something yards while only getting 19, that helps. In some cases, that is the craziest stat. I still can't get over it, dude. I'm sorry. I can't get over it. It's wild to me that he moved.
I love numbers.
That
I
much.
love deep dives. I've never heard that in my life. Never heard that in my life.
It's the wildest thing. It's the craziest. But at the same time, we know how good of a player he is, so we're not going to be stupid in this game. We gave him problems in a way last year. It's just that we made it very easy where he didn't have to do much work because they were up 21-0 in the first 5 minutes of the game. So it's not like he had to do much last season, but he was uncomfortable. And if they can turn that up and have a competent offense for a change, which we pray this is the bounce back game, should make it more interesting.
Well, real quick to piggyback on that too, Jay, it's like, the takeaway from the South Carolina-Oklahoma game last year was you got boat race, you killed them, blah, blah. I don't think they had 300 yards of offense. I think it was pretty low, to be honest.
They didn't need
to. And you're right, they didn't need to. But you want to talk about, the story of the game was, Michael Hawkins comes out, throws a pick on the very first play. They fumble on the next one. It's 21-0, like you said, in the first 5 minutes. But also, the 9 sacks. Everyone kept oh, my God, South Carolina got 9 sacks. Oklahoma got 7. And this offensive line might be worse this year. So it's
seems like
that's a real concern. I don't think they can be worse than what Auburn was a couple of weeks ago, but my God, I don't want to test it out.
Well, and here's a stat to compare to Auburn. If I would have told you before the season that LaNorris Sellers would have fewer passing touchdowns and more interceptions than Jackson Arnold, you probably would have not believed me.
Okay,
and if he had fewer passing touchdowns, you'd have been like, well, maybe LaNorris only played 3 games at that point. So that's the stark contrast is that,
Is it 2 interceptions now?
Yeah, 2. Yeah. 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That to me is the surprising thing because I think I was as high as everybody else about LaNorris Sellers, and I still think he's a really good quarterback. It's just there's not a lot of help around him right now. And as we've seen, whether it's Arch with Texas or Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma last year, you got to have some help around you. And
Chris,
right now,
Chris, to your point. Yeah, right. And Chris, to your point, 254 yards is what they got last year. 180 in the air, 74 rushing yards. Rocket Sanders had 15 carries for 33 yards.
Yeah. And then listen, you can sit here and say they were playing ahead and all that kind of stuff, but it's this is also the time when they were turning it on as a team where they went, I think they were 3-3 in the start of this game. And then this is when they finally turned the corner and it was oh man, you got, they started putting up actual numbers against some of these other teams like Vandy and Texas A&M and teams like that. So I'm with you on that. I think the biggest thing, I know you brought up the turnovers part. I think that's the biggest thing that South Carolina has to win. Y'all can win this game, I think, if you don't, even without forcing turnovers from Sellers. I don't think there's a path for South Carolina to win it without forcing the turnovers. And one of the things they've been better at than anyone else in the SEC since Clayton White's come in as the DC is turning people over. And they have been really good at that, especially in their own red zone.
True.
You saw it last week twice. I think the stat a couple years ago was like they had like 13 or 11 or 13 turnovers. It was a prime number. I know that. Inside the red zone with their backs against the goal line. It's like, I thought that was like a typo, but I wasn't the one writing it, so it couldn't have been a typo. And so
did you write 4 of them today, though?
Dude, in one tweet, just call it a day,
on Tuesday. My bad, bro. The struggle was Tuesday. This man put out 4 tweets, and they all had typos in it. It was amazing.
I feel your pain. Some days it's just not your day. You know, the hashtag never tweet. Like every once in a while, you just have to remind yourself, you know what? I'm just gonna observe Twitter today because it's just not going well for me. So, hey, we're gonna talk more about Oklahoma and South Carolina. We'll get more about South Carolina's defense versus Oklahoma's offense coming up, and we'll give you some keys and predictions later in the show. All this coming up on a Locked On crossover edition featuring Locked On Gamecocks and Locked On Sooners.
When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keeps you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House's next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Plus, the Parts Finder tool and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first offer. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets you use across the app. Like me right now, I'm looking at this line for this South Carolina and Oklahoma game, and it's creeping up to 5.5. Oklahoma is a favorite. Kind of wild, and whenever I decide to throw something on it, it makes watching football even more exciting when you're got a little something on the game. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Gamecocks and Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Chris, you were talking about South Carolina and turnovers. They're tied for first in the SEC in turnovers per game alongside Texas, who did get 3 interceptions of John Mateer this past weekend. How do you feel like they're going to fare against Oklahoma's offense and John Mateer?
So I think that if Oklahoma decides to make this game a get-right game for the run game, I think that's a mistake. I think that trying to force the issue with a run game that's kind of struggled, I think they're like 13th in the SEC in rushing and stuff like that. I don't think that's the way to win. I think you have a really good quarterback. I don't think playing a game for 60 minutes against Texas's defense made him healthier, but I think that whatever percentage he's at, if he doesn't turn the ball over 3 times, that game on Saturday is probably a different story, and then the game this upcoming Saturday is probably also a little bit different story. So, but the other part with Mateer too is that that's kind of been his MO a lot this season. Is he's had turnovers, at least one, in a lot of games, right? Like I think like Auburn, he had one. I think he had one against Temple, and we've seen that kind of be a consistent thing. This Illinois is State. Yeah. I think the biggest thing for them is when they get into the red zone, you're going to have to force the issue and make sure that's not where the mistakes happen. So I think like from a strength on strength standpoint, the weakest part of this defense is the interior defensive line because it's also the thinnest part of this defense. Really good group of backers, really good edge rushers. Maybe a way to negate that is you run right at Dylan Stewart. I don't know. But the secondary, it's got a lot of really good players, and I thought would be the strength of this team. They have shown some signs of weaknesses where you can get some big gains against them, and they're a little bit banged up as well. But I think this game is not something where you need to overthink it if you're Oklahoma and be like, you know what, we're going to really try to run between the tackles to prove to ourselves that we can do it against a team that's not super great at stopping it. I think you go out there and you do what's given you the best success, which is let Mateer be Mateer and have success in that standpoint.
Yeah, I'm in agreement on there. The focal point should be that Oklahoma, as they get right, is to just go straight air raid and spread those bad boys out. Make them chase field. Make them do what LaNorris did last week, man. Run 800 something yards on these to get like 19 yards total. Make them go everywhere they don't want to go. And I think that's kind of the focal point that Oklahoma should do. They kind of talked about it in the presser on Tuesday that they're going to figure out some stuff with John and get his confidence going like he should. And John's already owned it and said, I need to be better with my eyes. I need to do a better job of just finding open dudes. There were so many freaking plays where there was wide open guys against Texas and he just didn't see them. And this is the opportunity for him to settle down and do that. Plus, he should be able to run. I mean, he said that his thumb is fine. He said that he broke a scab and that's why he's bleeding and they had to wrap him up with another bandage. But we'll find out exactly how he feels. If he's feeling fine, then there's no excuse for him to not go out there and have a really, really good game against the secondary because, as you said, Chris, the edgers and the backers are really the biggest problem. And if he can find a way to make sure he steps up in the pocket, let them kind of go around and quickly get rid of the ball, the quick game will probably be the saving grace here. And then potentially him scrambling right up the middle. If the pocket opens up and spreads around him, shoot, just zip and go. But you're right. Yeah. This has been John Mateer's MO his whole career. He's a gunslinger, so he's going to throw it right to a defender every once in a while. The question is, can you catch it? Because it's a fast one. But if he looks and does a good job of dumping and paying attention and finding the open guy when he knows the guy's going to be open, he should be able to have a good redemption game. I think he does redeem himself similar to the Michigan game or even the Auburn game. But I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game and a close one.
So, Chris, you guys lost a lot of guys off the defensive side of the ball. We know about Dylan Stewart. What?
I don't want to talk about that.
Well, I'm going to talk about that because I want to know who else do we need to be looking out for? Like, who are some playmakers on that defensive side of the ball that Oklahoma fans need to be aware of?
So I rave about this front seven a lot, and it's mainly the edge rushers and the linebackers. But the ones I personally love the most, like Stewart's great. JT Gear's been great. Brian Thomas Jr. has been really, really good as well. They've been really good at the edge rush position, especially getting just not always sacks, but like being able to put pressure on quarterbacks and all that kind of stuff. They also do a pretty good job of collapsing pockets. You're not seeing a ton of guys run free from them. I think the linebacking core is a year away, but I'm so excited about them because they might not be as good as last year. You don't have a Demetrius Knight Jr. guy that's going to run 23 miles an hour. I think it's 21 and a half, maybe miles an hour. Probably that. It's a linebacker running 23 miles an hour would be insane. But a guy that's going to be a top 50 pick and all that kind of stuff. There's Fred Johnson, who has all the makings of being that type of player, 6'4", 245 type kid, former 4-star recruit. He's played well. Justin Okoronkwo, number 17. You will see him on Saturday. He will be shot out of a cannon. Former 3-star recruit from Germany, signed with Alabama. And I remember at the time I was still covering some parts of Alabama, and I remember talking to people on the staff with Saban, and they said, dude, if this guy was born in America, he'd be a 5-star recruit. And we all know the Bama bump, so of course he would have been a 5-star recruit. But he is now transferred over to South Carolina along with Sean Murphy, a guy who went to Bama and then Florida State. They're a solid group, and they're pretty good in run support. You just have to figure out a way to make whoever you're going up against a little bit more one-dimensional. The question has not been the defense. It has not been an issue with the defense. The defense they don't rank super high in the SEC in terms of like total yards allowed or yards per play. I think they're like 11th in yards per play at 5.16, and then I think 339 yards of offense per game. It's not astronomical numbers, right? But I will also tell you, they have got to figure out a way when they will force a turnover this weekend for sure. I would be shocked if Mateer in their first road game, like they haven't played a true road game yet, and I'm not going to count Temple. No offense, Temple. But
What's
coming to Williams-Brice Stadium, I will tell you this, guys: if you're traveling, the people outside of Williams-Brice will be a lot more accommodating and nicer than the ones that were in Philly for that Temple game. I can promise you that. But no, I think that they have to figure out a way. All of the question marks are on the offensive side of the ball because, again, last week you forced 3 turnovers against LSU, and some of those were like one of those was around midfield. You made 7 trips across the 50-yard line. You got 3 points. And how do you figure out a way to stop the bleeding when things go bad, and then also figure out a way to stop shooting yourself in the foot offensively and defensively?
We're going to get into some keys of the game. We'll drop some predictions coming up next here on Locked On Gamecocks and Locked On Sooners. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Once again, thanks for making Locked On your first listen, whether it's Locked On Gamecocks or Locked On Sooners. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. So, Jay, talk to us about the offense. Who are some key players for Oklahoma against South Carolina's defense that have to step up and play well beyond John Mateer?
You know, of course, your leader there. The offensive line itself needs to, but I think that you need to get something more out of a Torrey Blaylock in the run game, and just finding those little holes and running through trash and making it happen. He did that a few times against Texas. You saw him in one of them. He kind of saw the hole in a delayed moment, but lucked out and still was able to get like 11-yard run. But for Oklahoma, opening up the hole in the middle, you know, mainly because South Carolina is kind of thin in that interior spot. Just finding some of those holes on occasion, on top of catching some screen passes, tunnels, all of that. Plus the wide receiver room, man, I got to catch some balls. And outside of catching it, can you please break some tackles? I think that that's kind of one of the key things that you need. Make people miss out in space. If you do that, you got a good chance. On the offensive side, man, it's going to be those wide receivers, Torrey Blaylock, Isaiah Satania. Heck, Giovanni Gibson should get more. If he can go out there and do what's needed to, like I said, make some guys miss or catch something deep, could be make it challenging for South Carolina. But if anything, I need to see something out of these running backs. I don't think you should, like Chris said, don't force the issue on the run game, but you're still going to have to run the ball. You can't not do it. Just don't go out there and try to do it 50 times and think it's going to work. Get about 20 good ones, mix it up well, get some, like I said, some bubble screens or whatever. Just don't do any more jet sweeps. That ain't been working because nobody can block out front.
For a jet sweep.
Do not do it. Just run it up the middle and see where it goes from there.
And Chris, for South Carolina's offense, what do you think is going to be the key to the game in this one?
The phrase I just said, it shows you how sad things have been. Like, I would genuinely kill to see a jet sweep or orbit motion or some sort of different setup. Just for the love of God, I would love to see something like that. I think the key is going to be like for both sides, like you said, you can't be one dimensional, but you also need to play to your strengths. I think that you haven't shown me a lot of the fact that what the offensive identity that South Carolina has kind of made for themselves is the right one, because it hasn't been really good at all. I think in that game against LSU, they had 27 total pass attempts. I think they threw for under 100 yards. And you talked about the fact that like only 5 of those attempts were even over 10 yards. You need to try to stretch the field a little bit. You definitely need to figure out a way to get Faison or Attaway or Fuller in the run game going to where you're not just running between the tackles and it's 2nd and 9. Because I tell you what, at some point, it's like the most penalized team in the SEC. It's going to be 2nd and 14 on the next play. You got to figure out a way to stay ahead of the chains. And most importantly, like I want to see them take shots and either get Harbor or Vandrevius Jacobs or, my God, Mazeo Bennett or some of these younger guys like Brian Rowe, like involved in the passing game. I think all of that's capable. I think the biggest thing for me that's not a player, you have to make those fans want to stay for 4 quarters, because it's a very dejected fan base right now, and I understand why. But like an 11:45 or 12:45 Eastern time kick sucks in general, especially for Williams-Brice. You're not getting enough time to like really get the place going. That's I think a fortunate thing for Oklahoma. But those fans will be there and ready to go, sold out and pumped up at kickoff. How do you make them stay for 4 quarters? And the way you do that is making sure you're still in the game going into the 4th quarter.
Well, I think what you mentioned there, taking shots down the field, that's been one area of Oklahoma's defense that's been a bit of a weakness, right, Jay?
Yeah, that is kind of been a weakness for Oklahoma. I don't know. Next question.
Oh boy.
We've been susceptible to some big plays down the field, some 50-50 balls. We've given up some plays. Oklahoma's got to be better in that. So defensively, Jay, slowing down LaNorris Sellers, slowing down South Carolina, what does Oklahoma got to do?
I'm sorry, I'm just annoyed as I keep thinking about that. Just how it's the defense.
I annoyed you this time. It's my fault this time.
Not you. The thought of just that.
Fair enough.
I just need some competence on the offensive side, and especially on the road here. But on the defense, really, they've done a really good job of minimizing the bleeding on stuff like that. But they're susceptible to big plays. They're gonna give up a deep one here or there, and it's more so because of the reliance on the defensive line to go in and push people around and get the pressure that you need. The problem is when you're dealing with someone like LaNorris Sellers, you got to be careful with that, because if you think that your front four, which should be able to, LSU did it, but we can't do transient property around here because Florida did the same thing to Texas. Somehow they figured out everything right there on the spot. And South Carolina fired their offensive line coach, which tells me this offensive line is going to play a heck of a lot better. They're going to have a career game. So you can't rely on just 4 men going in there. You're going to have to dial some pressure. We need some safety blitzes. You're going to have to keep pressure going and make LaNorris think more than he likes. But I mean, as Chris mentioned last year, we got 6 sacks in that game. And so you saw LaNorris kind of struggling a little bit there. You're getting another 11 o'clock kick. So you should be able to do similar pressure, but you got to be prepared for him to launch it deep. Nick Harbor still is on the team. I mean, you throw it deep. If you can get that dude just going on the streak, he gone. And you cannot play around. I mean, that's like another Cam Coleman type situation. Do not let him just launch it. And that's the thing that's what was frustrating me, because as you were talking about it, I started thinking about Cam Coleman. Then I started thinking about Nick Harbor. And I'm like, shoot, it's another one. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's not fair. You got another freak on the outside you got to deal with. Just hope that they don't take the Auburn game plan and just throw it up in the air to him the entire game.
Yeah, I think I'm concerned more that they take the Texas game plan, that they throw a lot of quick passes, bubbles. They get the ball out of LaNorris' hands quickly to help mitigate the Oklahoma defensive line. But Chris, do you think that that's something you might see out of the South Carolina offense, or are they too shul it up that, hey, it's pro style,
Dude, a screen pass is like, it's just so blatantly obvious that like that should be. It's hard to make me miss somebody like Mike Bobo. And a screen pass is something that's like so basic that I feel like you already have an offensive line that's getting just it's turnstiles, right? So it's like figure out a way to keep a defense not from pinning their ears back on every single play. And it's just been too vanilla. I think, with the play calling. So I know what Jay said, and here's the thing. I'll give you pro and con of what you said, which is like, you're right. Like Harbor is people don't understand the Harbor situation, because it's like Harbor is not just a good athlete and a fast player. He was trying to qualify for the U.S. Olympic team. Like it is not a situation where he's
Olympic fast,
4-3
not
guy.
football
He
fast.
is right. He's world-class speed fast.
Yeah.
But like I just said, against LSU, you had five pass attempts the whole game over 10 yards. That's beyond me to think that, like, why that would ever be the case. And I'll also say the other side of that, though, is if you get someone open, people don't give LaNorris Sellers enough credit for the passer that he is, and there's a reason for that that I'm not going to get into. But there's a reason that if everyone is only talking about him being a dual-threat quarterback. Anyway, he is much more accurate than Jackson Arnold was. Jay gets it. I think both of you got it. But, like, there's a reason why, like Jackson Arnold is not as accurate of a downfield thrower. So if you have those shots, I don't think he'll miss. You just have to give him enough time to be able to get those shots. I'm begging to see something different. I would almost be okay with a loss if it came up as, hey man, they won the turnover battle, but you took some deep shots and you did something different as from what we have seen for the first 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, there's nothing more frustrating than seeing your team not try to move the ball beyond mistakes. Like Jeff Lebby, I think he's a good offensive coordinator, but that's one of my frustrations with his offense a lot of times was 10 yards and in that you're not challenging the stakes. You're not challenging the teams downfield. And so they have no reason to play down the field. They can force
Yeah.
the issue within 10 to 15 yards. And if you're not going to throw it beyond that, then why do they have to worry about it? So, yeah, I totally get what you're saying there. You know, I think you've got to have balance. Yes, I do think a bubble screen every once in a while just to keep guys honest, defenses honest.
Yeah.
I think they're important. The jet sweep is kind of forbidden fruit in Oklahoma circles because of Jeff Lebby trying to run it with Drake Stoops. Great wide receiver, but not somebody that I would be calling a jet sweep for.
I mean, we ran with Deion Burks this week, and that didn't go.
Deion Burks just can't make anybody miss right now. So I'm not
at all.
He's fast, but he can't make anybody miss. You've got to find some balance in your attack. You can't just throw everything 10 yards and in. You've got to take some shots down the field to just even back people up. One of my favorites. I love it when offensive coordinators come out and like play action deep shot first play of the game, whether it completes or gets picked or whatever, just to tell the opposing defense, hey, guess what? We're going down the field, so get ready. Predictions. Let's go. Jay, we'll start with you. Who do you think wins this game? You got a score?
I guess it's me. I think it's going to be a close one, but I do think Oklahoma covers the spread. I'm thinking 20-10. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. The Oklahoma offense has to show me that they can score more than 20 points before I believe they'll go over 20 points. And I need South Carolina to show me that they can get past 10 points. Both teams have been struggling on the offensive side more than they probably should. Just as Chris mentioned, it feels like there's no trust in LaNorris Sellers being able to do what we know LaNorris Sellers can do. He can throw the ball. Yeah. So let the man throw it. Give him some creativity out there, please. What are we doing here? But it just doesn't feel like the OC. I don't know why. He's just not. So give me 2010. I think Oklahoma can win this game on the road.
Chris.
Now keep in mind, we're recording this on Tuesday. So I'm in the mindset, and I'm just being very transparent about this. I'm in the mindset with this team right now where I'm not going to give up hope yet because we saw them be 3-3 last year and then reel off 6 straight wins. So I'm going to give myself another week to be delusional and believe it can change. But we're also entering this time of the season where you have this type of team, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, where it's like Monday and Tuesday, everything sucks. You're not going to be able to win. It's impossible. But Thursday and Friday, dang it, dude, they're going to come out here and shock the world. So I'm going to say on Tuesday, what I'm saying right now, it's going to be different, I think, by the end of the week because I'm going to talk myself into it. But I think 27-20 is probably around the score, 24-17 type deal. And I think it'll be close, but I think it'll also be a situation where you're going to have to figure out ways to generate points non-offensively again if you're going to keep it close.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you guys. I think it's going to be a close game, and I'm kind of in Jay's position as well, where I need to see the offense a little bit more efficient against a good SEC team or a good SEC defense, we'll say. And so I'm thinking Oklahoma something like 20-16. I think South Carolina gets it into Oklahoma's half the field because we've seen Oklahoma play some bend don't break, but then they'll hold to field goal. Or we've seen John Mateer throw the interception on his half of the 50, but the Oklahoma defense stands. So I'll give LaNorris Sellers some credit. I think he's a good player. I really do. I just think right now things are not coming together for that offense, but he's one of those players that if he's right, it doesn't matter necessarily what else is going on around him. He can beat you himself if he's really playing well. So,
yep.
All right. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, that's it, man. I'm going to go pee.
I'm going to fight you, Chris.
Right. Yeah.
Can't wait till I see you.
Good times.
I'm totally going to bear hug you when I see you.
Saturday. Make sure you're tuned in and subscribe to Locked On Gamecocks, wherever you get your podcast, Locked On Sooners, wherever you get your podcast. Chris, you doing a post-game show after the game?
No. Oh yeah, probably live recap.
Yeah,
it's odd because it's like right during the LSU game, so I got to do LSU like for work, and then I got to do this, so it'll be a perfect staggered thing. So I'll be doing both, and it should be a good day of football, guys. It'll be a good day of football.
It's gonna be a great day of football,
man. So everybody complains about, or at least all the non-SEC people talk about, Oklahoma going to regret being in the SEC. Like as a fan of football, I love this because every single week is an awesome Saturday of college football. Like even what was it like 2 weeks ago when there wasn't a whole lot of action, there were still some really good games. Yeah. But that's just the SEC for you, right? Like it's just fun football every single week.
It means more. It just means more.
I do like winning games more than anything, but it is fun. It's fun because we're now at a place too where before you guys got here, it used to be that 2:30 game was really great, and then you had like the rest of the day was like, maybe there's something here. But yeah, all right, fiance's home. I got to run before I get in trouble.
All right, hey, go check it out. Thanks again for tuning into every show here on the Locked On Network. We'll talk to you next time.
Boomer Sooner.